What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others. Hey, hero community. We are looking to feature more amazing social impact heroes on our show, and I'll bet all you listeners out there know a few that deserve to be recognized. If you or anyone you know should be on our radar, then you absolutely have to nominate them to be an iSpark Change social impact hero. Just click the link in the show notes below to help us find out about more people that are doing great things. Welcome back, Impact Heroes. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to our latest iSpark Change social impact heroes, that's plural, CEOs and co-founders of NextGen HQ, Dylan Gambardella and Justin Lapazan. Guys, welcome to the show. Where are you? What's going with that? There you go. That's the one we want. That's the one. Welcome to the show, guys. How you doing today?
Rick, we are fired up and grateful to be here with you. Thank you for inviting us on. Excited for this conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much. As I just said a second ago, this is the first time where I'm having two folks on at once. So this is an experience for me, and we'll see how it goes. But I appreciate you guys being the willing guinea pigs for this. So tell me, the part of the reason why we wanted to have you on is because we see the work you're doing as impactful. And at iSpark Change, we are all about empowering others to spread positive change and elevate their social impact. Now, that takes on a lot of forms, right? It takes on many different forms, and we have different people from all walks of life that are doing, like the last person I had on, he was doing medical missionary work, for example. And it takes on, people wear different hats, they do different things, but we see all of them as what we call social impact heroes, because the work that you do is having an impact on society in some way, and it's making others' lives better. It's spreading that positive change. So every hero has an origin story, where they came from, how they connected. There's a couple things I really want to know from you two. Not only the origin story, but if you can add in there, how'd you guys meet? How did you guys, become co-founders, partners, buddies, and starting in this work, and really everything that you're all about. So I'll let you guys take it away on that one.
Rick, you are the man. I think your platform is exactly what Justin and I stand for. We want to help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, and in the process, we can build something that is profitable and driving impact and maybe make some money along the way. I think that hits on a lot of our goals. I want to say one thing that I heard from your opening there. Justin and I, we wouldn't call ourselves heroes. We would call ourselves guides. And we really want to embrace the guide-like nature of what we're here to do. So Justin and I today are on a mission to help all young people, the next generation, we like to say, pursue meaningful success through entrepreneurial ambition, creative endeavors, work, whatever that means to you, projects, side hustles, you name it. There are a million unique ways to flex it. Justin and I, we met at 17 years old when we were beginning to explore that journey for ourselves. We actually met in a garage. Funny enough, most recently I was talking to a prospective employee who's now coming on board. And he said, I don't know if I believe that you met in a garage or if it just sounds better, but we actually did meet in a garage, as Hollywood-esque as that might be. And we were two guys who were thinking about grander ambitions and talking about impact, talking about what a meaningful life could be. And up until that point, no offense to our peers or the circles that we had been in high school and earlier, but not many of our friends were thinking in the same lens. And we gravitated toward each other. Justin and I, we had really no prior friendship. From the first time we met, it was all about thinking in the business lens of what could we do together? What project sounds interesting, exciting, that is energizing for us to go out and pursue for a meaningful time. And that was the inception of NextGen HQ. It started off with a a smaller business that was all about helping young people actually get into college and get into the school of their dreams. And now we've just broadened the mission to be about living the life of your dreams. So it's a beautiful journey that we've been at for the greater part of the last decade, going on year 9 now, which is crazy to say. But December of 2013 is when we met, and we've been building businesses ever since.
So thank you for sharing that. First off, Dylan, but I have to ask. So was this a garage party? What was this? What was the garage? How did you end up in the garage?
It was definitely a garage house party. We were, typical seniors having fun. I was visiting a now Next Gen HQ team member who at the time was one of my best sleepaway camp friends. He brought me to a house party that Justin was attending. Shout out to Adam Hornick, who is that team member. And we got to meet, and I think I met a lot of people, I should say, that night. But there was something special about this guy, and I've had 9 years of understanding why to really explore.
Okay, gotcha. So Justin, now I want to hear from you. Okay, so you see this. It sounds like you didn't go to the same high school, right? So you didn't go to the same high school. So Justin, share with me. You see this strange guy that comes into a party. A friend brings him. He's not from your school. He's, for all intents and purposes, an outsider, let's say. But he's coming to this house party. I mean, what was I want to know was you're like, hey, come over to the keg and here's a beer, or how did you two act? Like, what was the actual moment?
Rick, thanks again for having us. You also have to understand that Dylan's like 7'6" in real life, so he's a hard guy to miss. I'm like a normal, human height. So at the time before I met Dylan, I think the word selfish is very used negatively in a lot of society. But at the time when I was in high school, I was trying to be selfish, really. I was trying to, for the first time, really decide for myself, what do I want to achieve? Now, I'm a benevolent person, so I really want to achieve a lot of positive impact on others. But it's what I want. That's what I really started to think about for the first time in high school. What do I want out of my life? What are my goals? What does success mean to me? And how can I go pursue that success and get what I want? Even if getting what I want is building a business that makes a lot of money, helps a lot of people, and has a lot of fun along the way. So I was thinking about, how do I achieve success on my own terms? And I'm like whispering this to people, and nobody is resonating at all. Nobody is asking, what do I want and how do I get it? People are just kind of floating along the river of, this is life, this is work, this is the status quo. So when I met Dylan, it was really clear that Dylan's a winner. And winning also has, I feel like, such a negative connotation so many times today. But what is winning? Winning is getting what you want. That is what winning is. Winning is getting what you want. It's achieving your goal. So it was clear that Dylan was a winner in everything that he has brought to the table. So when I started talking to Dylan about some of these things that I've been thinking about, he was right there with me. He's like, okay, yeah, man, here's what I'm thinking about. I'm like, okay, cool. This guy wants to win. And Dylan and I are both kind of, maybe says like a Machiavellian air to it. Dylan and I are both very benevolent. We really love people. We're incredibly friendly. We're incredibly social. We're incredibly kind. We have loving families and no broken homes. We have a wonderful, wonderful childhood, et cetera, et cetera. But Dylan and I are winners, and we're out to win. And when I met Dylan, I was like, this is a winner that I want on my team. Let's go. And Dylan and I started talking about, well, what could it look like if we found other winners out there in the world who are young people pursuing success on their own terms at business and at life? Could we get them together, support each other, and make $1 billion doing it?
All right, I appreciate you sharing that, because a couple of things really stand out from your answer, and the most obvious one is winners, is the winning aspect. So I have to ask, were you both involved in? I mean, you say 7'6", so I'm thinking basketball, but were you both involved in sports? Were you in competitive activities in school?
100%, Rick. Maybe my competitive nature has evolved, but I consider myself a highly competitive person. Now, today, Rick, we go shoot hoops when you come visit New York. I'm not going to try with every bone in my body to beat you 15-0. At 18 years old, I probably would have, and I would have taken no mercy. I would have found a lot of joy in that. Today, I compete with myself more than anything, oftentimes in the gym, right, in my fitness pursuits, triathlon, or whatever it is, and also on the sport of building Next Gen HQ in the business world. competing against Dylan. Can I be my best CEO? Can I be my best performer, my best leader, whatever that looks like in that day's tasks and that years or lifetime pursuit. But in high school, I certainly had the three-sport athlete going on. Justin was an athlete, is an athlete. We both did science research where we were competing against, well, actually, in one way, shape, or form, each other. We didn't know it at the time. But also just all these other, in the loving way, super smart, geeky science folks that we were trying to also, build a brand around the idea of creating change through the scientific aspect. It was a part of my DNA. Competitive in the classroom, was dead set on being valedictorian. I stepped in, I think, probably to kindergarten, achieved that. And the learnings along the way sometimes were, I'd say, not the most fun to look back on, in that, why was I competitive, right? Who was I competing against? And I don't think it was always pure in the sense of trying to just be a better Dylan. Sometimes it was, I want to beat that person. And I think part of maturing is understanding that we're running our own race, right? Dylan at 18 maybe didn't know that. Dylan at 26 is learning that. Of course, I've got a long way to go. But who cares how Dylan stacks up against Joe and Sarah and Susan and Bobby? It's about how Dylan is activating his potential. And that's the piece that I think everybody that we try to meet with Next Gen HQ, we want them to understand. Sure, we're not all going to be Elon Musk building Tesla and SpaceX and buying Twitter. Doesn't mean you're less of a human being, right? You have your own optimal version that we want to help you craft, help you get to, and your own meaning and pursuit in life. That's what a job well done looks like, right? Very different for Rick and Justin and Dylan.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting how you share that, because I think back to when I was that age, and same thing, 3 sports, very competitive. And I think the difference, I think there's some definite advantages that you have in your generation over, I've done a lot of research in my work with Generation Z and all the generations, but specifically Generation Z. So your generation. And I think that you have some specific advantages just because of your access to information and where we are in the world and purpose, some things that we're probably all three about purpose and impact and making a difference in the world. That wasn't important to me when I was 18. The Rick of 18 just wanted to beat the other guy 15-0 on the basketball court, right? He didn't care about those other things. He didn't want to do it because he felt that he was, and here I'm, Allen Iverson talking about myself in the third person, but I didn't do it because I saw that I was getting better. And I had to learn that over the years. I had to learn that as I got into first in the corporate world and training, and then management and development and executive leadership. And as I moved along in my career and had all this development and people investing, resources and courses and all these things in me, and me reading books, that came. But you guys being at your age, at 26 and 18 or 17, having these ideas, I think that's where you're in a better place, because you can start down that journey a lot sooner, as you have, and not start down that journey, much later in life, like I'm on, which is fantastic. So tell me, share with our audience about, you said you started with, hey, let's have this one business for people how to get in college. That's probably something that you guys, you with the universities you went to, you obviously knew how to get into a good school, but how did it evolve into Next Gen HQ?
Rick, the first big idea that Dylan and I had, the $1 billion idea, the biggest idea of all time, some may even say $1 trillion inception, it was first based on a thesis. Maybe we could even say it was a hypothesis, which was that Dylan and I are not the only ones out there. That was this hypothesis. We met each other. We're excited by each other. We're working together. It's cool. It's fun. It's healthy. And I'm being enabled to pursue success on my terms of business and life. This is electrifying. This is how life should feel. Maybe there are other people who are like us. So that was our hypothesis. So our $1 trillion idea, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, metaverse, we decided to host a conference. That was the $1 billion idea. It was host an event. And by hosting an event, the big idea was we can really test our hypothesis. Can we get all these other young people who we know are out there, and can we get them together? and they can start to help each other out. And pretty selfishly, can Dylan and I meet them and they can help us too. So that was the first inception. And Dylan and I went before we started this, like any good entrepreneurs, just looking out there for it ourselves. So we were going to other conferences, reading books, watching TED Talks, traveling to networking events, trying to meet these other young people. And we could not find them. There were incredible networking organizations, membership communities available for experienced business owners, 10 million a year in revenue.
Mhm.
But what about for young people who are trying to find clarity on their purpose, launch a new business, meet a co-founder, like at the beginning of your life for launching and starting and getting in the game? So we couldn't find it. So we decided to do it ourselves. The story turns out well. It had a lot of roadblocks in the middle, but that was the inception. We hosted Next Gen Summit in July in 2015, not so far from you in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I saw that there was an Austin. And so tell me a little bit about that event. How many people went? I mean, did you consider it a success? Was it a great learning? How did that, what did that teach you?
Rick will be very honest in saying that it was by far and away the worst produced event of all time. So to start off, like, this actually happened. Our opening speaker, the backdrop fell, almost hit him in the head. The
Oh my gosh.
backdrop fell, let alone the opening speaker got on the stage about 3 hours late.
Oh,
And
wow.
let me put it this way. Justin and I, we do not claim to be the best event hosts. Today we have a team that are the best event hosts, and so we are able to create really good experiences. But the OG squad, the OG team, the best team perhaps, no offense to our current team, it was Justin, myself, Justin's mom, Justin's dad, my mom, and my dad. We each called our brothers and we said, "Hey, Alexa, Aaron, can you guys come help us out?" They literally like hung up the phone on us, Rick. No one volunteered except for the four people who love us more than anybody, and will always be there for us, mom and dad. And we are so blessed to have that. But to fast forward a bit, 300 people at a conference, 50 speakers, 3 days long, many venues. It takes sometimes a little more than a loving mother and father duo and two 18-year-olds to put on a good event. So by Sunday's close of the 3-day conference, I remember to this day feeling like this was, a failed experiment. And I'm happy we did it. We learned a ton, but that was it, shake off, whatever. We'll think about the next venue and we'll go for it. But everybody who was there, Rick, we had created this Facebook group just for them to find roommates and for them to maybe engage during the weekend. They all started posting Sunday afternoon. I'm on the plane back from Austin to New York. Justin, Dylan, thank you so much for hosting this event. You guys are amazing. I love this. When is the next one? Please let us know. Hey, team, it was amazing meeting you. I found the courage to drop out of school and pursue my idea. Thanks to Next Gen HQ, Next Gen Summit, I'm going to go all in and I'm going to actually do the thing. Like, all these inspiring messages, Rick. And what that showed me, what that taught us, no one cares if you're a couple hours late and the backdrop falls. What matters is the quality of the people. What were the dialogues happening? What was the engagement like? And they knew that we cared. They knew that we wanted them to succeed genuinely. And we wanted each other to succeed, right? Justin mentioned we wanted to meet them. Maybe it could bolster our own careers, but authentically, we wanted to be there to support them, to help them with the resources, the educational material, the mentorship that we were able to bring in and provide. Again, not that we were the hero, we were the guide. We were the ones behind the show, putting on, the play, pulling the strings to allow them to have the experience. And we decided to host another event. We said, okay, well, we thought it sucked, but everybody else liked it. Let's pick New York City, our backyard, and let's try this thing again. Fast forward a bit, we were able to actually break even at this second event. Huzzah! No, bar mitzvah money out the door. We kept a few dollars, which was nice. And we figured out the beginnings of what would become a thriving business model. That if we got really good at aggregating this Gen Z young talented audience and knowing what they wanted in an experience, well, a company or two would want to get in front of them and they'd pay us to sponsor, they'd pay us to brand or to be part of the content creation. And that set off a 4 or 5 year journey of a thriving in-person community building events company. And we were blessed to shepherd that all throughout college, right? It wasn't always easy. I'm making it sound like it was, every day was happy and winning. We had some low points, right? It was really hard, but we had each other and we had this thriving ecosystem and community that truly wouldn't take no for an answer, right? It wasn't an option not to host another event. It was not an option to not curate this group. So we committed to it, put our heads down, and made it happen.
It's interesting what you shared, especially about that first event. It reminds me of the quote from Maya Angelou. It says, people won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And it seems like it was the feeling component, how they felt afterward, what they got out of it. That's so obviously they don't remember the backdrop. They don't remember any of that stuff. And you ask them, 5 years from now, maybe it's a funny story that somebody, will share, but they'll remember how they felt. And that it seems like that has played a role in your success, because as I said earlier in my research at Gen Z, there's a ton of statistics out there. And, one of them is that approximately two thirds of Generation Z feel that they can impact the world, that they can change the world, which is part of the reason why through iSpark Change, I'm counting on Gen Z to do some work like you're doing. I'm counting on Gen Z to carry the flag, if you will, to carry the torch and move things forward, like Next Gen HQ, like iSpark Change, those type of causes, if you will, or organizations, because they're the ones that are going to get it done. It's not going to be, my generation, people that are, they're on the other side of business, or they're on the, the downhill of their career. Which, as I said, is very different, because for my generation, we had to grow into purpose. We had to wait until we've, later on in our career, we've had some success. Ooh, now what's my passion project? And then that was just amplified with the pandemic, where so many people, billions are like, hey, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do a passion project. I'm going to start something new. And, that's part of my story. Is my business slowed down in 2020. And I found myself, my business coaching business, basically at a standstill. And so I decided to write a book that had been in my head for 20 years. And then that sparked the idea for iSpark Change and create that community and start growing that. But with you guys doing it so early in life, as I said, and creating your passion early, your purpose early, you mentioned purpose, Dylan, and that's one thing that I talk a lot about, is about creating purpose. The purpose is not something you find, you create it for yourself. And that you can go out there and see what you're good at, how you want to make an impact, and then you go and create that. And you guys are definitely creating that. So talk to one of the reasons I know you called yourself guides, and for this show, you're heroes. All right. So for my show, you're heroes, but heroes is an acronym. It's actually an acronym. And the H stands for honors their purpose, because heroes honor their purpose. It's what defines who you are. It's what defines how you show up in the world. It's the foundation of why you do what you do. So we've touched a little bit about that, but share with me a little bit more about the components of Next Gen HQ, like the entrepreneurial mindset, the mentoring, the community, like share more about that, so people have an understanding of, what it is all about.
Rick, Dylan, and I are big fans of acronyms. I'm trying in my head. I can never remember, but our favorite acronym is FU, capital N, capital N. I do not remember what it stands for, but Dylan, please tell me you know what it stands for. But it is the number one most inspiring acronym, if I could only remember what Barry said in that podcast. So Next Gen HQ is built on this story that we talked about. And Rick, everything you're saying about creating purpose, totally aligned. Our whole big idea is that there are 3 billion young people out there in the world, and every single one of them is capable of pursuing and achieving success on their own terms. But our big idea that we're trying to introduce is that you're capable of pursuing and achieving success in your own terms if you can learn how to think like an entrepreneur, if you can use an entrepreneurial mindset to help you overcome the obstacles, figure out what you want, get on the train and go. So built on that bedrock of entrepreneurial thinking, we've created a membership community where members can come to us to meet their co-founders, launch their companies, expand their thinking, get clarity on their work, and get to the next level, pursuing their success at work and at life. What this looks like is we have a membership where members can subscribe. There's currently free on the website as well as a paid option. And members can subscribe and get access for a very low fee, even on the premium, to an all-inclusive ecosystem all about pushing them forward. This is live and on-demand digital courses and classes. This is the ability to network with peers. This is the ability to discover new and exciting career opportunities, jobs, and internships across fields and sectors. The opportunity to receive discounts and perks and status at all the brands and the tools and the resources and the services that you're using as a young entrepreneur to get your life and lifestyle going. So what it looks like is it's a complete ecosystem designed for members to use as a tool to pursue their success on their own terms and eventually win at work in life. And winning is getting what you want. And the journey is just beginning.
Do you have anything to add there, Dylan? I saw you nodding there, but do you have anything to add?
I was trying to quickly find the FUNN acronym, but I think Justin nailed it, Rick. If you can live a momentous life, if you feel like you're working on something that brings you meaning, that you're finding your passion, double down, yes, you're going to get up out of bed ready to go. You're going to feel that purpose and feel that excitement in all you do, and it will seep into your relationships, your fitness goals, your whatever it is you're working on, right? I truly believe it stems from living the energized life. And the way we deliver it, run it back, hit rewind 30 seconds, and Justin will walk you through. But it's all about that momentum. That's what we feel really blessed to get to bring to the world.
Yeah, and it's so without even realizing it, you hit the E on hero, which is engages your audience and your mission, because that's your mission. What you're talking about living your purpose, building that momentum, and you want to provide that for others. You want through your platform, you want to have others be able to create that and follow their mission and drive their goals and success and everything that they're working on as well. So you hit a couple so far without even realizing it. Before we jump to the R, I want to talk about and Dylan, you mentioned it earlier, is challenges, because along every hero's journey, a hero's journey is not just straight up. It's not just all roses and unicorns and rainbows, right? It's going to have some pitfalls, some challenges, some dragons to slay. So what would you say was something that was designed to stop or limit you, but it only motivated you to drive further and to keep going?
I'll get us started and talk maybe at a meta level, Rick, in that I believe truly our number one challenge is the man in the mirror, or the woman or the person in the mirror, right? For Justin and myself, I think that is abundantly true, in that we can go as far as we want to. The only people or person stopping us is ourselves. And while that's scary, it's also empowering, because if you embrace that, well, then get out of your own way, right? So I think about my journey early on, go way back. It took me a few months of, at the time, what were really hard, deep thinking and conversations to come to a point where I knew that I had to go all in on Next Gen HQ, on seeing how big this thing could be, how much impact we could drive. And that was, I think, around my sophomore year. I was caught up in the noise around me. My friends and my uber talented buddies who at Duke were getting these great internships and joining the big banks or the consulting firms or the hot tech startups. And here I was trying to go build the next big institution, right? But it's hard to see when you're, one person and you have very little revenue and you're in the early stages, but you believe in it. You believe. It takes a lot of conviction and confidence and trust, and fear of or lack of fear of failure, and understanding that it'll work out and I'll be able to handle it. And at 19 years old, that's a lot to ask. But yeah. I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that I had the right support system and the conviction in myself and in Justin and what we could do to say, I'm going all in. And burn the bridges in a way, and not take those interviews and not take those jobs and not do the internship thing, and go for gold in the way that I felt I needed to. Today, those same friends are the ones who are asking to invest in our company, who are trying to work with us, who are taking jobs here. And it's not that they ever wanted me not to succeed, but they didn't understand it, right? It takes, again, that maturity where it takes time to come to a point where you understand we're all on our own journey. You understand we're all doing our own thing, and there's no reason to compare. I don't like to compare myself to anybody, because what's the point? It's fruitless, honestly. So when we could live with ourselves and compete with that person in the mirror, for me, man in the mirror, that's who I'm going against. and trying to get out of my own way and let me be great. And when we can get those days or those weeks, those months and years, those are the best, most productive times.
Yeah, before we move to you, Justin, because I want to hear from you on the same question, but before we move to you, Dylan, was there a time where the doubt became really strong, where you had to have someone else, say, hey, I believe in you, a mentor, a leader, a friend, Justin, I mean, someone that had to kind of get you through that dark time?
100%. Rick, if you caught me sophomore year on like the 8th sponsor who said no to sponsoring the summit, it felt dark. And I feel really lucky to say that I believe my base case mental health is very positive vibe and very energetic. And so even on my worst days, I am really grateful that I'm in a strong spot. And I want to acknowledge that going in. But imagine, Rick, imagine that you have this guy who is on my right. I'm pointing the wrong way now. But you have this guy, Justin, who is there to say, not only do I believe in you, but you got this, man. You got this, and I'm here to support you. How can I help you? What can I do for you? You're the man, right? All this confidence, this empowerment, and having a partner is so key to that journey. I'm sure that other people maybe have a friend or a spouse, or my parents were certainly there for my sister. Oh my goodness. But every day he's in the throes of it. He gets it, right? Who understands the challenges I'm facing like Justin does? Nobody, quite frankly. Even my mom, who loves me more than anybody on this planet, she doesn't get me the way that Justin might get some of the things that we're dealing with building the business. And his confidence and faith, you lean on that. You borrow that in a way. And sometimes I'd like to say that he could borrow mine. And that's why I think it is a beautiful, especially when you're young and you have no clue what you're doing, having a co-founder is such a special and unique relationship, and one I'm grateful for.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for sharing it and for your openness. That is the O, is that a hero opens their heart to the world, because if you're not authentic, if you're not sharing, the difficult times, then that's not reality. And that's not what's going to empower someone else on their journey. If they think that, oh yeah, their journey was easy, man, mine sucks. But if they know, like, okay, it's tough for everybody, then that empowers them when they're in those dark times too. So how about you, Justin? What was the big challenging time for you along the way, along the past few years?
Rick, I love that you're unrolling this acronym. I love that we're at the O. They will go back to FU capital N capital N. We must figure out this acronym. This is like by a mentor of Dylan and I that we have to get to, because now I'm never going to sleep at night. If somebody's listening to this and has heard that before, get in touch with us. So when I was getting started as a business owner, I was exclusively interested in being a solo founder. I was like aggressively interested in being a solo founder. Why would you ever want a co-founder? That sounds like the worst idea of all time. So I was like exclusively thinking about trying to be a solo founder. It was never in my mindset to have a co-founder. Couldn't have been more wrong on that opinion for like so many variety of unlimited reasons why that was like such the wrong attitude at the time. But it was the true attitude. The reason it's such the wrong attitude is when you have a co-founder, if you do it right, like your yin yang, your strengths and their weaknesses match each other. So it's a perfectly complementary thing. So Dylan has these strengths that help me compensate for many of my weaknesses in a million areas. I happen to live in my own little fairy tale reality land, and that's a super strength in many areas. On most days, I have like an irrational confidence in our ability to succeed. I have a clear, unique, original vision of where we're going. I have unlimited creative resources to continue to retell the story until it comes to life. That has like a crazy flip side of the coin, which is that my worldview is totally incomplete oftentimes because I'm creating it in my own head. So I have massive blind spots, a total often detachment from like some of the true key things that are actually happening, ability to stumble if I'm confronted with a new situation that like I wasn't have never thought about. It just enters my reality. I'm like, that possibility, it can rain cats. I didn't ever think of that. So it has like a crazy piece to it, which totally can throw me off. And if it throws me off, sometimes it can throw me off for more than a day. Like I get really knocked off the horse. So I'm on the horse most of the time, but if I get knocked off the horse, I can get really knocked off the horse, and it's quite dangerous for me. Dylan is one of the most consistent, logical, rational workhorse individuals. Forget anything about his incredible leadership and coaching abilities, but he's just like a force. He's an unstoppable, immovable object. So he's just a force. So anytime my force tries to like bring the force other way, well, Dylan's an unmovable force. So like we just keep going in the right direction. So that has always been a blessing.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that, because my first company I started, Strategic Medical Coaching, I started with a partner. I originally, same thing as you, Justin. I'm like, I'm starting this solo. There's no way I'm splitting, revenue, whatever. And then there was someone that had worked for me at this startup, and I said, you know what, RJ, he's that, yin to my yang, if you will. He fills those weaknesses. And so we started the company, and, we still own that company. He's more of a consultant now in that role, but we talk weekly, we support each other, we mentor each other, we help one another, and having someone to be that sounding board, to be that guide along the way in that journey is extremely helpful and beneficial. So the fact that you guys have a great, business partnership, I mean, kudos to you for finding the right person. And then, because those aren't always easy to find. And then the second thing is for seeing the gifts in one another, because that's going to help propel your business a long way. So take that from someone who's, an old guy like me. It'll help, trust me. So next thing I want to touch on is that and yes, we are unrolling the acronym there, Justin, even if we go kind of out of order, because you never know where the conversation goes. But the R is actually that a hero ripples their message to others to spread positive change. And that takes some different forms. You guys have done that a little bit, because you share your life story and the lessons that you've learned. I feel it's a hero's duty. And this is something I live by, is that when you've learned things along the way, you owe it to others that have not traveled that path to share, hey, here's the pitfall. Maybe you can go around that, maybe you can learn this. Now, people have to make mistakes and fail on their own to grow a lot of time, but you can still give them some guidance. Like you said, your guides, right? Well, part of being that guide hero is that there are these, what we call at iSpark Change, spark moments in life. And a spark moment is where it's just a single act, but that act has that ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. Now, it could be something, a spark moment for you guys could be your friend bringing you to the garage, house party, right? And where you guys are going to meet. That could be considered a spark moment. But because totally changed the trajectory of your life by that one little thing. And, as Steve Jobs says, you can connect the dots looking backwards. It's always tough to connect them forwards, but you can always connect them going backwards. So I'd like you each to share, and maybe it's the same one, maybe it's different for both of you, but to share a spark moment, not where someone did something that changed the trajectory of your life, but where you've done something through your work at NextGen HQ and it could be you've just started to see the ripple effect, like you just started to see the initial ripples of that act. Or it could be that this was something from 7 years or 8 years ago, and you're like, hey, I already noticed that was a big thing. But share something like that. And whoever wants to go first, dive right in.
I love the question and the emphasis on these spark moments, Rick, and being an agent of inspiration and motivation for others in that spark moment. I'm going to end after Justin goes with what I have now found out to be FUNN, the acronym, coming in real hot. That's a teaser for you. But one of the spark moments, and this is more of a general one, there was a attendee at one of the first Next Gen Summit events who I think it was probably I won't show this person's name, but not to diagnose them as a psychologist, probably lacked some confidence, some belief in himself that he was capable of doing a major thing. And I'll never forget, after the event, I got a message probably about a week or two later where he shared that he was finally going to have a conversation with his parents and go all in and start the company. And I think it led to actually taking time off from school. But knowing that we had created a venue, I did nothing. Truly, I want to be very clear. Maybe Justin had like a nice heart to heart. I did nothing outside of allowing this venue to exist, to contribute to this happening. but something that we did, some minor action that I was a part of, led to this person developing the confidence to have a really hard conversation, to pursue meaning as he saw it in his life. That is everything. Come on, man. Like, oh my goodness, right? I get the chills just thinking about that. I'm blessed enough. How grateful am I to have had the chance to leave an impact on that person in a small way? And maybe 3 months in, he decided that it was an awful idea and went back to school and apologized to mom and dad. I don't know. Who knows? I wish I could tell you it led to like $1 trillion company and solved world hunger, cured cancer. Maybe one day. But I don't think it matters, right? And that is a secondary point in and of itself. So the opportunity to create a platform that can have a real impact on other people's lives, sign me up. Like, that's what gets me fired up beyond belief. Sure, I have other goals, and I want to, we talk about wealth, talk about being a profitable entity. I want all that stuff. But what brings me the most joy, and always has since the time I was in 8th grade and got to tutor someone in math and seeing them go from a 50 to a 75 in a test, that joy today is replicated in what we do at NextGen HQ, and giving young people the tools, the resources, the confidence to go for great, to go for gold. And that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Dylan. How about you, Justin? What's something that comes to mind?
I'm waiting for the acronym from Dylan. That's key to key to know. Dylan and I speak a lot. Speaking is fun. I enjoy speaking. It's tricky. A lot of meta thoughts about speaking, etc. But I remember speaking at a class, and a kid came up to me and he's like, "Justin, man, like this talk was great, blah blah blah. I hope this is not offensive to you, man, but like if you could do it, anybody could do it. Like, you're so relatable." And at first I'm like, well, that is the biggest insult I have ever heard. I am smart, attractive, bold. He's like basically coming out to me saying, if this person could figure out how to do it, anybody could do it. The reason I say that is I have to walk the walk. So I didn't go to college right away. That was like probably one of the first independent major life decisions I made. Decided to not go to college right away. And I'm just so proud of myself for making that decision then, as I am every day. It turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life. And at the time, I got like a lot of social pressure to not do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact that I walked the walk, made the decision, and now I can speak about making that decision, about knowing yourself and trusting yourself and pursuing success on your own terms to win a business in life, I think gives me all the credibility that I need, regardless of what happens with NextGen HQ, to be able to tell a young person, if I could do it, you could do it too. Now, F you, capital N, capital N.
All right, ready for this?
Yeah,
So
what
Rick,
is it,
this is all shout out to Barry Shore, a beloved NextGen speaker, mentor. He's acronyms galore. All right, he just hit me with a new one, MOM, Mom, Maker of Memories. But I'm getting sidetracked now. He says in his speeches, he tells his audience at the beginning, everybody, good evening, good morning, good afternoon when you're listening. F you, capital N, capital N. And it stands for Find Undiminished, Never-Ending Nurturing. And I remember the first time he said he told Justin and me to F you, capital N, capital N. It took us aback, like, oh my goodness. So Rick, if you feel like you got to run with it next interview, tell that person, F you, capital N, capital N.
That's great. I know our listeners are going to love that. Thank you for looking that up and sharing that. Yeah, you're better at multitasking than I was. I wasn't going to attempt to look that up. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys sharing, because I mean, that last question, it's kind of a put you on the spot kind of question. And it, but I think it's important, because I think one of the, you can pick your definition of leadership, but one of the definitions that I like for leaders is that you see gifts and possibility in others that they can't see in themselves. And so by being a leader, you have to think, okay, how am I impacting others? What spark moments am I making in others' lives? And by virtue of what I say at this speaking event, what's going to be the ripple effect of my words? Now, you never know, right? You never know. But what you can do is you can go out saying, hey, I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to share my purpose. I'm going to say what I've done. As I said, like a hero, you share those boons that you bestowed. You go back and you share them with everyone else. You're going to share that. And then where it lands, you hope that it has a positive impact. So that's why I think it's important, and I see you guys as leaders, as young as you are, I see you guys as leaders and people that can have influence on others and their growth. And so I urge you to, think of those spark moments that can happen any day, right? That can happen any day as you go along. So on that note, as we kind of move towards the end here, what advice would you give to someone that is just starting out on their journey? So maybe it's the 17-year-old out there that they thinking about being an entrepreneur. I know for me personally, when I was 17 and I was in my first year at USC, and still trying to figure out my major and looking in business, and there was this entrepreneurship program, and I was like, that seems like some rich kid stuff. Like I didn't even understand it back then, and I ended up going into communications and marketing, and I'm very happy for it. But entrepreneurship didn't have the allure that it does now. It's a totally different thing. I've been an entrepreneur probably for the past decade-ish, getting out of the corporate world, but now it's more of kind of a trendy thing. So what would you say to that entrepreneur that is just starting on their journey? And I don't mean trendy in a bad way, but I mean that, it's more common nowadays. But what would you give to the entrepreneur that's just starting out? What advice would you give them?
Rick, in the spirit of, I know you are a researcher and scientist in that lens, in the spirit of continuing that, about 62% of Gen Z in a poll that came out about a year ago said that they either are an entrepreneur or desire to be an entrepreneur in the immediate future. 62%. That's about 2/3, right? It's pretty freaking awesome that young people are either taking action or they're doing everything they want to take action, right? So I think about for anybody who is in that camp, or even if you're in the 38%, I'll recruit you over time. Give us a chance. Come join the membership. Check out the link below, right? Rick will hook you up. But the number one piece of advice that I can only speak from, because I have lived it, to Justin's overview before, it's 3 words: paper and pen out, get ready, notes app. Just get started. Period. Hard stop. It's the best advice you will ever get. Too many people, far too many people, I get to meet amazing young talent, incredible, innovative young entrepreneurs to be. They're sitting on the sidelines because they don't have the perfect resources. They don't have all the money. The idea is not yet ready. They don't have the partner. Maybe mom or dad isn't fully on board. There's a million reasons. I have sad news for anybody listening. You will never have it figured out. If anybody out there has all the perfect resources before you get started, call me up. I'm happy to be proven wrong on this. But there will always be something that, of course, can be practiced, right? No one is ever ready to get started, but that's the point. Get in the game. You get in the game, you start to learn, you start to fail, which is actually opportunity to learn and to improve, right? Treat everything like a growth-oriented resource, and now you will start to accelerate your learning journey. Those will compound over time. You will be better off at a faster rate because you got in the game. Doesn't mean you're going to be a billionaire tomorrow, but you'll be one step closer. And then once you get in the game, you do everything you can to stay in the game. It's something that Justin and I believe to the core of who we are as people. You want to get in shape at the gym? Great. Not tomorrow. You go right now. You want to diet and get lean for the summer? Great. We'll start today and not tomorrow. Get started right now. Whatever that means to you. 1%. Don't try to conquer the world on day one. Pick 1% of what your goal is and do it. You want to run a marathon? Go run a 0.5 miles, right? Find your 1% and just get started and let the rest take care of itself.
Yeah, that's great advice, Dylan. Thank you for sharing that, because that's something that I had to learn, again, over the years. And if people can learn that at a young age, they're in a much better place. And especially the failure part, because when I speak to young people, I tell them that failure is the best teacher that you will have in life. And as long as you take those as opportunities to learn and grow and evolve, and which I know you have that mindset, right? I mean, you were just saying that, but you're right, is a lot of people, they get paralyzed in that, wanting it to be perfect, or just getting started. And as one of my mentors used to say, the best day to start something is yesterday, and the second best day is today. And that is what very well said. So how about you, Justin?
Only thing to add is learn how to meditate. I think all 3 would agree. Learn how to meditate as well.
Yeah. Short and sweet, but very, very true. Very, very true. Well, thank you for sharing that. So our goal at iSpark Change is to positively impact 1 billion people in the next 5 years through our community, through our work, through our future platform that we're building to be a central hub where people can find things like NextGen HQ and find all these individuals, organizations that are doing great things around the world. Now, we can't do this alone. We need the help of leaders like you and people that are kind of spearheading the charge, okay? Well, there's a lot of people out there, and you may deal with some through NextGen HQ that believe, as I once did, that who am I? I'm just one person. Can I really make a difference? Can I really do this? Am I really going to have an impact? So because we consider you guys social impact heroes, guides for our audience, I'm going to ask you to peer into the future, right? Peer into our little crystal ball here and have you each answer the question, what can the world become if everyone believes that they can have an impact on the future? If everyone believes that they can make a difference and make the world a better place?
The word utopia sounds almost too ideal in this sense, Rick, but I believe that anything is possible when we have a purpose and meaning. You think about the friends that you know are fired up by what they do for work or pursuing a really hard yet meaningful task. They're also a lot more fun to be around. Blanket statement, right? They're better human beings. They're better friends, better husbands, spouses, children, parents. And I know to be true of myself, because that's all I can really speak from my own experiences. When I'm feeling locked in and aligned on my mission, my purpose on this planet, I'm a better Dylan, period. Everything I do, from the person I speak to at the checkout counter to when I talk to my parents that night on the phone, I'm better, period. And so I think it's a better world. How and what that manifests in, there are better futurists than me who can paint that picture for you, Rick. But it's a world I want to be part of. It's a world I want to live in. And I think to quote Tim Draper, a mentor of both Justin and mine, who we had on our platform about a year ago, he said, what I do from an investor standpoint, I close my eyes and I imagine the world that I want to live in. I think about the technologies, the services, the ways people are motivated. And then I open my eyes and I think about today. And I go look for the people who are creating that world. And I invest in them and I help them to build it. That's what I want to do. That gets me fired up beyond belief. And I think that's what we're doing and investing in the best asset, which is yourself, right? It's a fun opportunity if we can accomplish any bit of that.
Yeah, thank you. Justin?
When young people have the support that they need to achieve success on their own terms, it looks like winning at business and life. Winning is getting what you want. When people are winning at business and life, there's only one thing to say. As we like to say, it's now that's momentum. That's what it's all about.
Great. Well, I know our audience is going to want to learn more about NextGen HQ. I know you have a few big things coming up. You have your summit next month and everything, and you have something special you want to share with our audience. So share away, please.
Rick, I'll make it short and sweet. If anybody out there wants to win and succeed and find their purpose in a meaningful pursuit, whatever that means to them, you are more than welcome and invited to join our NextGen HQ membership. We're giving every listener of the iSpark community, iSpark Change community, to come on board, join our membership for free. We're just going to drop details in the comments. You go to our website, nextgenhq.com/getmomentum. You're going to put in the special code only for his community, for his listeners, for a limited time. So make sure you go take advantage of that. All thanks to Rick, who makes it possible, for being that change maker, being that leader. We're grateful to partner with. And we cannot wait to reach out to you, to get to know you, learn about your goals. And you can connect with Justin and myself right in the platform. Once you make your account, you get signed up, reach out if we can help. Any questions, anything that you're working on that you think we should know about, or you want to meet somebody, meet a mentor, an investor, an advisor, another entrepreneur, hit us up in the platform. We're here to serve, to be that guide. And we're grateful to Rick for making it all possible.
Well, thank you very much, Dylan, for sharing that. And thank you, everyone, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your insights. Thank you for sharing your stories, just all of it. I know our audience is going to love it, and they definitely will learn a thing or two from this show. So thank you for taking your time today also. it's our stories. I always say it's our stories that connect us all. And we loved hearing yours. We loved hearing more about your work and what you're creating. So Dylan and Justin, we really appreciate you being on the iSpark Change podcast.
Thanks for having us, Rick.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, I will drop everything in the show notes. nextgenhq.com is the website. Be sure to see that. And everybody, just know that it's Dylan Gambardella and Justin Lathazan. You truly are iSpark Change social impact heroes. Thank you for being on the iSpark Change podcast.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.